All right, my algebra classes. So sorry, I am not here today. I will be back tomorrow. You need to make sure you have yesterday's notes. If you need them and you're out, because you're out, they are in the algebra missing work bin on top of the bookshelf over by the door. They are behind the 18th. Okay, you need them. You can get the front from a classmate and some of the back. We're going to finish the back today with this video. You also make sure you have your pencil, one sheet of paper, and your textbook. Now, algebra, you are sharing this textbook with my other two algebra classes. So you are grabbing the textbook that goes with your desk number right now. Okay, grab the textbook that goes with your desk number right now. All right? So, yesterday's notes, pencil, sheet of paper, textbook. All right, so the front of this is all filled out. If anyone happens to come in, because we are having visitors at some point today, what are you learning today and why? Okay, what are you learning today and why? All right, so we did get the front of these notes done yesterday, so let's flip them over and let's get the back filled in. All right. My classes, I have 3 different classes, and we're in 3 different spots, all in this region of the notes. So I'm actually going to start on exercise 1. We did the check in some of the classes. Some of y'all did not get to do it with the whiteboard, and that's okay. I'll talk through the answer, and then we'll go through this last example and check on the bottom, all right? So first, we're going to mark our text for this example. It says 10 less than the quotient of 4 and x, okay, is twice x. All right, 10 less than, all right. On the front of your notes, it said reverse. Under reverse, this is one of those times where you reverse it because it's less than. Well, it's less than. It has to be less than something. Okay, so less means subtraction. Must be less than. So 10 less than, and whatever it's less than is going to go right here in front because it must be less than something. Okay, the quotient I asked you to write under division. You're going to see the word quotient a lot, and it means division. And also make notes that at the bottom, the special notes for division, we write all division as a fraction, because that's all a fraction is a division problem. Okay, so we're going to have a fraction bar. And we said the first thing we read is the numerator or the top number, and the second thing is the x, or the bottom number, the denominator, okay? So it's the quotient, okay, division. What do we read first? 4. First thing you read is your numerator. And x, the second thing you read is your denominator. Is means equals. Twice x, that indicates multiplication. And twice means 2. Remember, your coefficient always goes before your variable. So that means 2x, okay? We have written that math sentence as an equation. We even have a variable on both sides, okay? Now, if we were in class together, we would check this. I would give you like a minute or 2 to think and write this on your whiteboard. And then we would hold our whiteboards up and I would check for your understanding, but I'm not there. Okay, so we're going to go through this. It says write an equation for the sentence. Okay. 4 times a number. What number? We don't know. That's our variable. It's 4 times something, it's a number, variable. Less 10, okay, less 10 is equal to, okay, it's kind of redundant because is also means equal to. We learned that yesterday. Is implies equals. What is it? Okay, 16. Okay, cool. 4 times a number. 4 times a number. Well, when you have a number and a letter, we're just going to call this n. You can make your variable whatever you want. But when you have the number, that's your coefficient variable. Remember, under multiplication, I told you your coefficient goes first. And we defined what coefficient was. It is the number in front of the variable. All right, so the coefficient is 4, the variable is n. This indicates 4 times a number. You do not need a multiplication symbol in there. It is implied with them next to each other. Less 10, so minus 10, is means equals 16. All right. So I know I was able to do this on the whiteboards for, I believe, at least 2 out of the 3 classes, and we were pretty good on this. The biggest thing was making sure you don't put a multiplication symbol between 4 and n because it implicates multiplication. All right, now on to our last major example. Okay. Last major example. All right, so with formulas, we deal with formulas in a lot of things. One of the things we deal with is in geometry, okay? So we're going to talk about some of the formulas because they have basis in algebra, so they intertwine. Let's see what it says. It says translate the sentence into a formula, okay? It says the perimeter. Okay, what kind of math is perimeter? It was on the front. All right, I even put a little star by it. All right, the perimeter of a rectangle. All right, you give me a shape, I'm gonna draw it. Okay, so the perimeter of a rectangle. Remember, we were talking about perimeter yesterday. It means add, and you add up all of the sides. Okay. Is, well, that's one of those little equal words, twice the sum, okay, so twice the sum the sum of what? The sum of the length and width. Okay, so twice the sum, and what's the sum of what? The length and width. All right, so what are our unknowns? What don't we know? Well, we don't know what the perimeter is. That would be what it would be if we walked all the way around and we ended up where we finished. We also don't know what our length is. Okay, that's the measure of the long side, and we also don't know what the width is, the measure of the shorter side. All right, so L, W, W. All right, so we're going to assign variables to our unknowns because that's what we do in algebra. Okay, and we make them real simple. P is for perimeter. L is for length. And W is for width. This is standard for equations, formulas, okay? P is perimeter, L is length, W is width. When you're talking about the perimeter equation, these are your standard variables. And now we know we're going to use a P, an L, and a W. Okay. Identify the givens and their relations. Okay, what were we given? Twice. Twice means, well, what number does that mean? means 2 times. 2 times. Oh, I got something on my fingernail. 2 times. Okay, twice means 2 times. 2 times. Twice the sum. Well, twice the sum means you're going to add first, then multiply. Because you have to have the sum to multiply it by 2. Does that make sense? In order to do twice the sum, you must do the sum first. So we're going to add before we multiply. Okay? Now I know in order of operations, you're like, okay, well, we multiply first, but what could we put around the adding to find the sum that would indicate we add first? Think about it. Now we're going to write our equation. The formula for the perimeter of a rectangle is, okay, well, the perimeter of a rectangle is, so P perimeter is twice the sum, meaning 2 times. So we have 2, but we want to sum first. Did you think parentheses? Parentheses would mean we would add up what's ever inside here. So we are going to, let me see, we've got the L, whoop, plus the W. So you add up the length plus the width, okay? Then you multiply that times 2, and that gives you the perimeter. And your drawing shows that. So if you add the length and the width together, well, you have 2 of those, so multiply that by 2, and you get your perimeter all the way around. All right, so again, if I was here, I would have you use your whiteboards, and we would, you know, identify our unknowns, assign some variables. You know, we would go through our steps, and I would have you write out your formula on your whiteboard and hold it up, and we would check to see how, you know, we were all doing with this. But I'm not here, so the best you can get is I'm going to chat at you through this video. Okay, motors. The horsepower of a motor is, okay, so the horsepower of a motor is the product, ooh, what kind of math is the product? Is the product of the motor speed and the torque divided by, what? 5,252. All right, so what are my unknowns? Well, I don't know what horsepower is. That's typically a number. Okay, motor speed. Okay, speed. And torque. All right, so those are my number words. So horsepower, we're going to call that H. Speed we'll call S, and torque we'll call T. You know, we're really imaginative here in the math world. All right, so we have identified our unknowns. We've assigned them variables. You don't have to do them separately. You can list them out and then label them. This is defining your variable. If I ever tell you to define your variable, tell me what your variable is and tell me what it stands for. Okay? So let's read this. All right, so the horsepower of a motor is H. H is means equals the product of. All right. Now you should have under your multiplication block on the front, right, in the product. Okay, that means multiplication. So it is the product of what? Motor speed and torque. Okay, motor speed and torque. Okay, multiplication. When you are signifying multiplying two variables, you just write those two variables next to each other. You have just signified they are multiplied. No multiplication sign required. Don't do it. Erase it if you got it. We don't need it. And then lastly, divided by, there's that fraction bar again, divided by 5,252. You've just created another formula. All right, and those are your notes. If you have any questions, I will answer them tomorrow when I get back. So, your assignment. You need a piece of paper, and you're going to fold that piece of paper in half. Then you're going to fold it in half again. All right, crease. That's going to make it fold. You're going to have 4 blocks on the front, 4 blocks on the back. You're going to write your name. Don't write my name. Write your name first and last. The date. It is August 19th and section 1-1. Now on the board it says you are doing page 11, number 3. Label your first block. Page 11, number 3. Ooh. I don't know. It is. We have a sufficient